after really only a few days. It surprised me. So this is a new portrait that I've just finished, and I'm using a jeweler's loupe to show you that it is hand drawn in pencil. I shouldn't have to do this, but the world of AI shows that I've got to prove that it's real, and everyone else can get away with it. So let's just move this. There we go. So this is the Little Richard portrait that I've just finished, and it took about 4 days. Playing Little Richard for most of the time. If not Little Richard, it was 50s rock and roll. This was complicated but not too hard. And now, well, I'm on another one, starting, well, it's Wednesday today? Yeah, Wednesday. And I started on Monday, so this is who I'm drawing now. Now I'm having a little bit of issue tidying up the lines. If you know music like I do, you know Jeff Beck. You should know the lyrics to Hi Ho Silver Lining. So also Yardbirds. But it's just trying to clean up the lines and make it just bring it together, and then I can move down to the body and his guitar. Now guitars can be complicated but not impossible. Nothing is impossible apart from trying to nail jelly to a ceiling or swim in shark infested custard, but well, actually it may be impossible to get an answer from a company, but we'll argue that later. Now the thing is about doing these by hand, I have taught myself for many decades how to draw. It's the thing that defines me, the same way as a guitar defined Jeff Beck, and it's just one of those things that I do. Let's work down here a bit. This is an HB. This is a basic HB pencil. But this is something that I just do. And it's not been without its difficulties. You see, as humans, we make mistakes. I'm going to tell you something that is one of those secrets. We all make it up as we go along, and we hope that nobody notices. And that doesn't matter whether it is you, adults, people in power, especially people in power. They're all bluffing. They're all hoping that nobody notices that their, let's just say their trousers are unzipped and there's a draft, and they know there's a draft, but they're hoping nobody else notices the gaping hole in their joy department. Got that? That's the way of the world. We're all making it up as we go along and hoping nobody notices. The moment you realise that, you realise that companies want you, you don't need the company. So now we'll get to AI, and I do genuinely wish that people would stop farting around with computers and hoping they're intelligent, just pretending they're intelligent. They're not. They're pretending to be. And a computer, regardless of what it does, will never replace the joy of seeing a blue sky and walking on a beach, hearing the waves, or walking around and hearing children laughing, or having butterflies and flowers, and it will never replace it. Anything that you see online with what makes online is a construct. That's all it is. The reality is physical. But the thing is, while I'm drawing this, I have taught myself how to do it. When I was a child in the 70s and 80s, I had some family had encyclopedias, and in there was pictures of old masters. Albert Dürer, we had one of those books, and I also had comics and cartoons and everything else that I could enjoy. And I drew birds. I drew people, I drew cartoon characters. I drew everything I could. And I learnt. I picked it up. There was so much frustration because I couldn't get the nose right. I always had trouble with noses. Even now I have trouble with hands and fingers. And don't ask me to draw any vehicle. Let me just get another pencil. Yeah. I don't like drawing vehicles at all. It's a skill that some people have got. I haven't. It's just one of those things. You can bluff it, but I can't really find pleasure in drawing a vehicle. So I don't do it. I can draw animals, anything nature, but it's not the same. Now with this, with all of them, once you've got the line work down, it's basically advanced colouring in. It's complicated, and it's a technique that I've taught myself, and I doubt I can tell you how to do it. And to be honest, as I've said before in videos that I've still got to post, why pretend to be somebody else? Be yourself. You can learn from these people. You can learn from Jeff Beck and play the guitar like him and play his songs. But there is a point where you're going to have to branch out and wing it on your own. Now, the hardest thing is, in this world, compared to what happened when Jeff Beck Group released Hi-Ho Silver Lining and the Yardbirds were out, is there was more avenues for creative endeavours. Yeah, there was management who screwed you over. Boy, just read Sharon Osbourne's autobiography. You'll find out there was management that screwed people over. But the creation of the music was usually done by the band. And the band approached the record company, and they bought the contracts, they did the contracts on the strength of the band. Now we have a weird situation where it's sort of like X Factor, where please Simon, let me be a singer, and eventually they become a TV presenter. We've got that a lot, but it's because there's only a handful of companies holding the music. There isn't much avenue for a creative endeavour. That happens with cartoons. I created a cartoon series years ago, and I pitched it to a company, and that company looked as though they were buying it for, well, 4 years it was working on, and then they pulled the plug because they couldn't find the financing. It broke my heart. And I went to doing these portraits to try and just find a path to be noticed for what I do, so I could turn to somebody who contacts me and say, hey, by the way, I've done all of these. I'm still waiting. But if you look at the cartoons that I grew up with in the 70s and 80s, I had what can be classed as the old masters. Looney Tunes, Disney. I mean, Disney isn't even Disney now. But the Disney cartoons, the Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, the Warner cartoons with Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner, Hanna-Barbera with Inch High Private Eye. You had the early MGM cartoons with Tom and Jerry. But you also had new releases, new cartoons. And in the 80s, these cartoons did sell toys. We did have toys based on the characters. And there were elements where they would have the cartoon of the character, and they'd have to introduce the toy brand on that episode. You look at Masters of the Universe, they did that quite a bit. A character appears. They did it on Transformers as well. A character appears, and that character has to be included in whatever episode, because that's when they launch the product. But with the progression of the years, what has happened is companies have bought other companies, which have bought other companies, and it's like big fish in a pond eating the small fish. And now we've got a world where this exists, but it exists in shadow. And I've got no doubt there are people right now trying to be noticed for what they do, and picking up instruments and being influenced by whatever act they're influenced by, and just getting a no and hitting brick walls. There's only a handful of companies now. When you started on this with music, you created your group, and then you went hopping around the pubs and clubs and made a name for yourself. But now I genuinely don't know how you can make a name for yourself. It seems like it's only I've got whatever followers on whatever social media platform. But with social media, it's become Pandora's opened the box, and she's found Schrodinger's dead cat. Social media is not a great thing. And I say that trying to put this on and trying to get noticed for what I'm doing. But I want to get noticed for what I'm doing rather than me on my own. And the worst thing is that somebody can come along and be the kid that eats worms in the playground and becomes a sensation in the playground for doing the stupid. and it's where's the talent. I will never listen to modern music again. I stopped listening to modern music in the early 90s and then just went to back catalogue, but I grew up with 60s music, and I was in the 70s and music was everywhere, and it still can be. You just go out and buy some Jeff Beck albums. Start with Truth. Start with the Truth album, or get these. Or get Yardbirds. Get a Yardbirds album. Get a Yardbirds Greatest Hits. And then start branching out and getting other guitar rock bands. And you'll get into it. And it'll be very freeing. The weird thing is now, I'm in the UK, and I've been in the one only music chain in the country now, and I've seen teenagers photographing themselves with albums and somehow putting them on social media or something. I have no idea. It's confusing, but just listen to the music. Just go and listen to the music. I mean, I'm heavily into rock, blues, metal, but I also go to soul, disco. I'll go to pretty much anything. I just don't do modern day stuff and rap music and Britpop. I don't do anything like that. I haven't an ear for it, but on that, I don't want you to not enjoy it if you're doing that. If you're enjoying it, I have no reason to call for it to be banned or attack it. It's just not my thing. But if you want to do that, then you do that. It's your freedom. But anyway, I will finish this, and it's going to take a long time to work on this because, well, there's a guitar here. This is the picture, and I've had to cut a corner out of this picture so I can see the face. This was just black. But it's his shirt, which shouldn't be too bad. I can see his face being finished in about another day. But I need to get it standing out from the background. I mean, this background, yes, it looks black. It is black. But this also took about 2 hours to just render this background, just to get this effect. And that's the thing about drawing with by hand. It takes time. It's not immediate, and nor it should be, and it shouldn't be easy. But this is where what I've just finished. Go and play some Little Richard albums. Go and play Long Tall Sally, and just go and play some of his albums, some of his early stuff. He originated music. It wasn't who you think it was. It wasn't Elvis, it was Little Richard. He did it. That's why I drew him, but also I'm planning some sort of a book linked to some of the pictures that I'm drawing, but this is why I'm drawing musicians at the moment. I don't know how far I am on it, but I'm having to do multiple singers, and I'm pretty sure the Kinks are going to turn up at one point, and the Small Faces, and Creedence Clearwater Revival, and then you just think, oh God, there's so many. I've drawn quite a few, but there's so many that I need to do. Anyway, this is the end of this video, and see you on the next one when I can finally put them on.